Okay, let's unpack this. That universal desire, right, to learn a new language.
Hmm.
We've all probably thought about it, maybe even tried,
Uh,
to connect or travel.
broaden your horizons, yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels like such a huge mountain to climb sometimes.
It really does. Like this incredibly long, often just overwhelming journey.
Exactly. The way we usually picture it. Years of classes, maybe. Endless grammar rules.
Oh, the grammar.
Right. Vocabulary lists you forget almost
Oh.
immediately. And that really frustrating feeling of just not being able to talk to someone.
Yeah, it can shut you down before you even get
Yeah,
going.
it really can.
And
Yeah.
that's precisely the problem this deep dive drawing from one specific source really aims to tackle.
Okay.
We're diving into a book with a title that, well, it's designed to grab you. How to Learn a Language in 5 Days by Frederick Dodson.
5 days. Wow. That's a bold claim.
It is. It completely flies in the face of, everything we've been told about learning languages.
Definitely. So is it even possible?
Well, that tension, that apparent contradiction, that's exactly what we're here to explore in this deep dive into these source materials.
Gotcha.
What does the author actually mean by learning a language in like such a short time? What's his approach? What's this radical method he's proposing?
And what can we take away from it, right?
Yeah.
Even if that 5-day part sounds a bit extreme.
Exactly. So if you've ever felt intimidated by language learning, or maybe just skeptical of the slow, traditional way,
Or just wondered if there's a faster way to get to basic communication.
then this deep dive into these sources is absolutely for you.
Okay, let's do it. That title. How to Learn a Language in 5 Days.
Right, let's just confront it head on. The author himself calls it a pickup line, which is pretty honest.
Ah, wow.
But he insists it's not false advertising. So how does he justify that? What's his definition of learning here?
Okay, he's actually very specific about this. For him, learning a language in 5 days means being able to recall, understand, and, crucially, use the 800 most common words and phrases, and use them to build sentences that native speakers can understand.
Right, 800 words.
Yeah.
It feels more concrete than just fluency. Less impossible, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Why 800, though? Is that number significant?
His argument, based on language analysis apparently, is that those 800 most frequent words, they make up the essential core of everyday conversation in basically any language.
Huh. Like what kind of things?
Well, think about it. Basic phrases like, how are you? I'd like. My name is. Where is the beat? You know, if you can handle those building blocks and sort of string them together,
You can manage a lot of common situations.
exactly, you can navigate a good chunk of everyday life.
Okay, but still. 800 words in 5 days. That's still a lot. That works out to, what, 160 words a day?
Yeah, it's intense. He doesn't shy away from that.
How intense are we talking?
He frames it like taking a full-time immersion vacation. He breaks it down to roughly 20 words an hour over like an 8-hour focus period each day for 5 days straight.
He believes with the right techniques, it's doable. But it absolutely needs dedicated, focused, uninterrupted time. Like taking a week off work just for this.
And this sounds completely different from, school methods,
Yeah.
where you start conjugating verbs on day one.
Oh, fundamentally different, yeah. He explicitly contrasts his approach with that grammar-first way.
Right?
He argues that focusing on theoretical grammar rules right at the start just bogs you down. It slows progress.
So he skips it.
Initially, yeah. He even claims he learned several languages fluently without any formal grammar study. He uses this analogy, like using a computer perfectly well without knowing how the circuits work inside.
Okay, interesting analogy. So the priority is immediate practical use.
Exactly. Use it first, figure out the finer points in grammar later, maybe.
And he emphasizes that while the 5 days don't absolutely have to be consecutive, doing it in one intense block is really the best way.
Yes, he strongly recommends that intense 5-day burst if you can manage it. He says that first big leap, getting started, is the hardest part.
And a concentrated, immersive period helps you break through that initial barrier. It makes the learning feel more natural, cuts down on distractions, and, crucially, helps form a habit.
Right, avoids losing momentum.
Exactly. Spreading it too thin means you're constantly restarting, losing that flow.
Makes sense, like trying to start a cold engine versus one that's already warm. Okay, so if intense focus and stipping deep grammar early on is the strategy, what are the core principles? What makes this rapid learning possible, according to him?
He starts with something very human: passion and strong reasons.
Okay, not just casual curiosity then.
No, he says this book isn't really for someone just dipping their toes in.
Yeah.
You need high interest, maybe even real passion. And it has to be fueled by significant reasons.
Like what?
A new job, maybe. A partner who speaks the language. A lifelong dream to live somewhere specific. Things like that.
Real stakes.
Yeah. He even suggests an exercise. List at least 20 solid reasons why learning this language matters to you. He argues writing them down uncovers deeper motivation.
And that deeper motivation helps.
Massively. He says it boosts your attention span dramatically,
Mm.
makes it easier to stick with it, almost removing the need for sheer willpower or discipline. Your why, your interest. That's the primary learning tool.
Okay, so the motivation has to be rock solid first. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
What about the actual process of learning? How does he define that?
His definition of learning as becoming aware is surprisingly simple.
Oh, yeah.
It's just perceiving something new, discovering something, knowing something you didn't know before. He points out we're always learning, constantly becoming aware of things around us.
So language learning isn't some weird separate skill.
Not in his view. It's just redirecting that natural ability. We already have the ability to focus and become aware towards this new domain, this new language.
We already have the machinery, just need to point it in the right direction. So how do we point it effectively? How do we focus?
He breaks down modes of focus into 4 key ways we learn. Visually, so seeing or reading. Auditory, hearing or listening. Verbally, actually speaking, using your voice.
Yeah.
And actively doing things, creating, associating, even physical play.
Okay. Seeing, hearing, speaking, doing.
And he's absolutely insistent on this. To learn to speak a language, you must engage sight, sound, and critically, you have to speak it.
No shortcuts there.
None. He literally says, if you want to learn how to speak a language, you have to speak the language. There is no other way.
Wow.
Direct.
And he encourages embracing mistakes, too. See them as necessary steps, not failures. He says the more mistakes, the better.
Oof, that's tough for a lot of us. Being okay with sounding awkward or getting things wrong.
Totally. But he frames it as essential. Speaking of how you feel, what about your internal state of mind during all this?
Why does that matter?
Incredibly important, he says. Your state directly impacts learning and memory. He highlights positive states being relaxed, eager, appreciative, feeling joy.
That actually helps you learn faster.
He claims it can literally triple your results. Being in a good state makes your brain more receptive.
Triple. And conversely, he identifies things that block learning, like having unfinished tasks nagging at you, feeling overloaded with information, trying to skip ahead to stuff that's too difficult.
Yeah, I can see that.
And crucially, disinterest, which circles back to that first principle about passion. If you're bored, you either need stronger reasons or you need to find ways to make the learning itself more engaging. Link it to your hobbies, maybe.
So managing your mood isn't just fluff, it's a core technique. Okay? And finally, bring it back to that 5-day promise. Prioritization.
Absolutely key for that rapid goal. You have to focus relentlessly on the essentials first.
The top 800 words and phrases.
Exactly. And minimal grammar. Just enough to handle basic past, present, future tenses, and maybe some core prepositions. Nothing more initially.
And how do you handle sentences without much grammar?
He suggests using simple, direct, one-to-one translation to start, just to get a feel for how sentences are put together, even if it sounds a bit clunky or unnatural at first.
Like that German example he gave.
Yeah. Habe ich dein vollstes Vertrauen? Literally, have I your complete trust? You'd naturally say, do I have your complete trust? In English. But that direct translation helps you see the structure initially without getting bogged down in complex rules right away.
Okay, so the foundations are strong why, use our natural awareness, speak from day one, mistakes and all, manage your state, and prioritize ruthlessly. But how do you actually make those 800 words stick during that intense 5 days?
Good question. He talks about different levels of knowing a word. Like sometimes you recognize it when you hear it, but you can't actually use it yourself.
Right, passive versus active vocabulary.
Exactly. And he offers a slightly counterintuitive tip here. Start by focusing on the words you already know a little, or the ones that seem to come easily.
Rather than grinding on the hardest ones.
Yeah. Build momentum, get some quick wins. It keeps motivation up.
Okay, that makes sense. Don't get discouraged right out of the gate.
Yeah.
What are the most powerful techniques then for getting things into long-term memory quickly?
He says one of the absolute best is creating examples and contexts.
So not just looking at a word on a flashcard.
Definitely not just that.
Yeah.
You need to use the word immediately. Put it in a sentence you create. Visualize it. Link it to a real situation, or make up a little story involving it, maybe even act it out physically.
Why does that help so much?
It creates multiple connections, multiple hooks in your memory for that word. Makes it much easier to retrieve later compared to just seeing it isolated on a list.
He has that scale of learning which illustrates this really well, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It really contrasts passive learning with active engagement. He gives estimated retention rates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just reading a word might give you 10% retention, hearing it, maybe 20%, seeing it 30%. Pretty low, right? Passive stuff.
Okay.
But then it jumps. Writing the word,
Mm.
40%. Saying it out loud, 50%. Physically doing something associated with it, 60%.
Ah, getting more active.
Exactly. And then creating context, using it in a sentence or story, hits 70%. Being genuinely interested or emotionally involved,
It gets you to 80%.
80% just from being interested. Wow. Huge, right? And then finally, adding structured repetition on top of these active methods pushes it towards 90%.
So that German word, Vertrauen, trust.
Yeah, his example, just reading or hearing Vertrauen is weak. But writing it, saying it, using it in a sentence like, Ich brauche dein Vertrauen, I need your trust. Maybe physically doing a trustful gesture while saying it.
Each step locks it in deeper.
Precisely. And putting words into a story, he says, is efficient. It's like packaging multiple items into one memorable picture. Saves mental slots.
And that 80% for interest and emotional involvement, that really hammers home that point about needing strong reasons and a positive state.
Absolutely. It suggests how you feel while learning might actually be more impactful than the specific technique alone, though obviously combining them is the sweet spot.
And repetition isn't just boring drills.
No, he sees it as active repetition within context. It's about lengthening your focus on a word, using it repeatedly in different ways until it feels natural, familiar, second nature.
All right, this is making sense. Let's translate these principles and techniques into actual practice. What does this intense 5-day program look like day to day? What are you actually doing for 8 hours?
It's laid out as a very structured, quite demanding schedule, but varied. Designed for maximum engagement, hitting all those learning modes.
Okay.
Each day has specific vocabulary targets. Starts maybe around 100 words on day one, building up towards that 800 total.
And the activities, what fills the time?
A lot of different things to keep your attention high and avoid monotony. You're making physical flashcards, writing the word or phrase on one side, translation on the
So
other.
the good stuff, yeah.
Like you're constantly using them.
Yeah.
Practicing translation both ways.
Yep.
Target language to English, English to target language. Setting specific recall goals, like aiming for 50% recall, then 60%, then 80%.
Okay, active testing.
Definitely. You also use a voice recorder. Record yourself saying the words and phrases, leaving pauses for you to repeat.
Creating your own audio course.
Kind of, yeah. And you listen back in two ways. Actively, while looking at your flashcards, and passively, maybe with eyes closed, relaxing, or even while doing simple chores.
So integrating sight, sound, and speaking constantly.
All the time. Then you move pretty quickly into creating your own sentences and little stories using the new words.
Even if they're simple or mixed with English.
Yeah, he says don't worry about perfection initially. Mix languages if you need to, just get the ideas flowing. The goal is active construction.
What else? Any more physical stuff?
Oh yeah. Exercises like finding pictures in magazines that represent the words. Or literally sticking flashcards onto objects around your room. The table, the chair, the window. Creating strong visual and environmental links.
That sounds much more dynamic than sitting at a desk flipping cards.
It really is.
Yeah.
And he pushes you towards practical use very quickly with role-playing and simulation.
Like acting things out.
Exactly. He describes practicing the cafe routine, ordering food, asking for the bill, basic interactions over and over, or simulating going through an airport or a bank.
Bridging that gap between knowing words and actually using them spontaneously.
That's the idea. Even if it feels awkward or silly at first, you're building those pathways for real-world use.
Yeah.
He also suggests designing your own simple dialogues and acting them out.
And using words in different contexts?
Yes. Pushing you to be flexible. Try using the same words in, say, a pretend business meeting context, then pretending you're a prisoner, then flirting, then giving a speech. It builds adaptability.
Wow. Okay. And reviewing.
Constant review is built in. Every day involves going back over all the words learned so far, identifying the tricky ones, the ones you keep forgetting, and specifically targeting those with different methods. Visualize it, act it out, find 3 new sentences for it until it's no longer totally unknown.
The variety sounds key.
He stresses that. The constant switching between activities, writing, listening, speaking, acting, visualizing is crucial for maintaining high attention and enjoyment over those long 8-hour days. That's what makes the rapid progress possible, he argues.
Okay, that does sound intense, but maybe varied enough to prevent total burnout. Now, what about after the 5 days? You've built this 800-word foundation. The book
Mhm.
talks about using movies, right?
Yes, the interactive movie learning technique. He presents this as a really powerful tool,
Hmm.
but specifically for after you've got that initial base vocabulary from the intensive phase.
And interactive is the key word, not just passive watching.
Absolutely not passive. You need to actively engage with it.
The source material specifically mentions using movies where you can get audio and subtitles in both your target language and your native language. Suggests DVDs or Blu-rays often have this feature.
Right, that flexibility is crucial because you need to be able to switch the audio track and the subtitle track independently.
Why is that so helpful?
Well, he lists several big benefits. First, the ability to combine audio and subtitles. Hearing the target language while simultaneously seeing the target language subtitles is incredibly powerful. It trains your ear, your reading, your spelling, your pronunciation all at once. Boosts memory significantly.
And having the native language subtitles available too.
That acts like an instant translation tool. If you miss something, flick on your native subtitles for a second, understand it, then switch back.
And unlike a real conversation, you have control.
Exactly. That's a huge advantage. The ability to freeze and repeat. You hear a phrase you don't get. Pause. Replay it. Isolate a word. Look it up. Say it yourself. Then continue. You can't do that in real life or usually even in a classroom.
Good point. What else?
Movies expose you to much more interesting and diverse vocabulary than typical beginner lessons. You get idioms, slang, maybe technical terms depending on the movie genre, all presented naturally in context.
And it's cheap.
Yeah, relatively cost-effective. For the price of a movie, you're potentially getting exposure to thousands of words, authentic pronunciation, intonation, rhythm, all within context.
And it ties back to those core principles of context and interest again.
Definitely. You're learning in the context of story, picture, and interest. If you enjoy the movie, learning feels less like work. Plus, movies naturally use lots of common words, so it reinforces that top 800 foundation you built.
You can watch whenever you want, focus on what you want.
Right. Free choice of time and focus. Pause, rewind, skip scenes, focus just on dialogue-heavy parts. It's totally flexible. And you're learning more than just words. You're picking up cultural nuances, body language, gestures, how people really sound.
Not just textbook language.
Exactly. You get exposure to original uncensored language, the way people actually speak, which can be quite different from sanitized school materials.
And the final benefit.
Simply that. It's fun. Connecting learning to something you enjoy, like watching a film, makes the whole process more sustainable and motivating.
So how do you actually use the movie interactively?
The basic idea is to watch scenes multiple times. Maybe first with target language audio and native subtitles to understand. Then target audio and target subtitles to focus on the words. Then maybe target audio only to test listening. Pause frequently to grab new words or phrases, maybe add them to your flashcards or notes, and review them later using the same active methods from the 5-day course.
Okay, makes sense. The book also touches briefly on choosing a language, right? And this idea of the dive.
It does, yeah. He notes that choosing a language isn't just about words, it's about choosing a culture, a way of thinking, a worldview.
Mm-hmm.
He mentions, the usual rankings, most spoken languages, most learned languages, and he offers his own sort of language scale, rating
Right.
difficulty based on things like pronunciation, grammar complexity, or how similar it is to languages you already know.
Giving examples.
Yeah, like suggesting Italian might be generally easier for an English speaker than, say, German or especially Finnish, just based on shared roots or grammatical structures.
Okay. And the dive, what's that?
That's his term for full, complete immersion. Actually moving to the country, working there, making friends who only speak that language, living the language.
And he sees that as the ultimate path.
He considers it the easiest path to true fluency, yeah. Though he realistically estimates it typically takes about 3 years of that kind of consistent immersion to get there.
So let's be really clear then. This 5-day intensive course, it's not claiming to make you fluent like living abroad for 3 years would.
Not at all. He's actually quite upfront about that. He mentions working for a company years ago that did promise fluency in 5 days, and he explicitly calls that promise nonsense.
Okay, good clarification.
But he strongly maintains his position. While you won't be fluent after 5 days, his intense method can absolutely get you to the point where you understand and can speak basic phrases in common, everyday situations within that time frame.
So it's like a powerful head start.
Exactly. A way to blast through that initial difficult phase,
Mm.
overcome the inertia and awkwardness. You communicating, basically, using methods designed to keep you super attentive and actually enjoying the process.
Okay. So, pulling all this together from the source material we've looked at today,
Mhm.
the core message of this deep dive seems to be focus intensely on the most useful stuff, those key 800 words and phrases,
Right. High-frequency vocabulary.
and then actively engage with it in as many ways as possible. Writing, speaking, linking to pictures, role-playing, using movies interactively.
All those active, varied techniques.
And if you do that, according to this approach, it's possible to build a functional foundation for communication really fast. Maybe even get to basic conversational ability in common scenarios within just 5 medicated, intense days.
Yeah, it's about bypassing that feeling of being overwhelmed by traditional methods, getting that crucial initial vocabulary base quickly, and focusing entirely on active use in ways that keep you engaged and interested.
Knowing those 800 common words is presented as that vital first step to actually being able to handle a large chunk of daily interactions.
That's the claim, a significant step towards real communication.
Which leads us to this kind of provocative thought to leave you with, building right off the source material.
Hmm.
The author suggests real fluency might involve knowing around 3,000 words. His intense 5-day method aims to get you to a usable 800.
Right.
So if you can potentially build that initial foundation so rapidly, using this kind of focused, active, varied effort, what does that suggest about what's truly possible for your own learning?
Interesting question.
How could applying these principles, that intense, varied, enjoyable focus, maybe reshape your own goals, whether it's for languages or really for learning any other complex skill you want to tackle?